Hey YouTube friends, I hope you're having an absolutely wonderful start to 2026. I wanted to do a follow-up video to last week's video for you, my 12 favorite plants of 2025. In today's video, I'm going to talk you through the 3 things that have made a massive difference from the way that I care for my plants. For anyone who's been on this channel for a little while, I'm definitely always looking for ways to enjoy my plant collection and looking after them, caring for them not being such a chore. So I feel like these 3 things have really helped me with that in 2025, and hopefully they might be able to help you care for your plants as well. And let me just say all the caveats here, I am absolutely not an expert, and the important thing that I feel like I'm a broken record and you guys are probably absolutely sick of me saying is all our homes and environments and plant collections are completely different. I'm working on my very first full houseplant tour for you guys. I am so excited. Little Miss Perfectionist in me has had to say, you have a family, the house is never going to be perfect, so I need to get over that. Later this month we're actually heading to Japan and I need to get my plant collection ready for the plant sitter. And so I thought, what a great time. I'm going to walk around the house and talk through my plant collection and then use it to make a dot point list with ChatGPT for the plant carer. So I'm working on that for you guys right now, and I think it'll probably be 2 or 3 videos, and I'll be able to have that playing while I'm actually in Japan. I'm really looking forward to that for you guys. Just quickly, if we haven't met before, hey, I'm Mel. I'm that crazy self-confessed plant lady that just absolutely cannot stop talking about plants. And this channel is all about taking you along on my planty journey, mistakes and all, and hopefully giving you a bucket load of tips and tricks. Let's talk about the 3 things that really I feel like made a massive difference for me in 2025 with regards to my plant care, and also that I've definitely planned to take into 2026. And if you've been on my channel for a little while, you're potentially sick of hearing me talk about this. But something that has been massive for me last year, and I'm really glad that I took the plunge, has been my DIY self-watering pots. In February last year, we actually did, I think it ended up about, I can't remember if it was 19 or 21 days over to the US, and it was similar time of year. So the reason actually that the fan's going at the moment in southeast Queensland, it is the middle of summer here, and I personally find summer quite a difficult season for my plants. Just the amount of care here in summer, pests, water, light, all the things. And I wanted to make it as easy as possible for my plant sitter, who was really inexperienced. And it's absolutely not the right thing to do, but I transitioned as many plants as I could within a 6-week period leading up to a holiday into my self-watering setup. I've learned so much since then actually, and it was a really big risk doing that. But I love the clear sources in that I was able to say to my plant sitter, just fill the water to the second line. So I planted all my plants above that line, the roots above that line, because we were transitioning them into a self-watering setup, so I didn't want the roots to drown. And that just made a really easy visual for my plant sitter of, oh, okay, I'll just fill the water to the second line. So I've drained the water out to show you guys. This is just my basic setup. So if I'm unfamiliar with a plant, you'll often find a number of my plants will be in clear pots if I'm not sure and I'm wanting to watch the roots grow. I've learned I'm quite aesthetic when it comes to plants. I really like the aesthetics. As I get to know a plant more, I'll actually put them in the black pots and a black saucer underneath. And so even though it's DIY, it's self-watering setup, I don't know, aesthetically, it feels like it works for me. So that has just been massive. ADHD brain-wise, it's just made plant care so much easier because I can walk around the house and I can watch that line. I can visually see when plants need water. When I was absolutely brand new to the plant hobby, I did have a watering schedule, but even then it was more a checking schedule. So once a week, I would go around and check my plants and see if they needed water, and then often forget to come back and re-water the plants. So this is just a great visual. Every day as I'm walking around the house, I sort of split our house into 3. So I make sure I go into each room at least once every 3 days just to keep an eye on these. And so worst case, a plant is missing out on a day or 2 of water. And actually I've got a piece here to show you what happens when I don't have the clear to see. So how do I do it? So I have 2 mixes that I use with these self-watering setups. I've got my soilless chunky mix that has the perlite, the cocoa fiber, and some sort of bark, whether that's orchid bark or cocoa core chunks, and often some leca mixed in there as well. And I use that for my plants that don't work well in self-watering, just as a soil replacement, I guess. But I also find with a layer of perlite down the bottom or leca down the bottom, that mix also goes well for most of my plants in these self-watering setups. In about November, I started playing with stratum, fluval stratum as well. And I'd heard that it worked really well for alocasias. And so these guys are actually in a 50-50 fluval stratum. The fluvals are dark stuff. Perlite mix so far, touch wood, is working really well for my alocasias. And I have to say, For someone who started the year going, alocasias scare me, I just keep hearing that they are harder work, I think that I wouldn't have even been game to try them had it not been for my self-watering setup, because I can just really, really monitor how much water they're needing, and I feel like I'm giving them enough without giving them too much. Let me just show you my Birkins. Usually the saucers are much closer in size to the pots. Because we're going away on holidays, my alocasias are so thirsty. So at the moment with these alocasias, I actually am having to top the water up every day or every second day. I just spotted a spider. Hang on. Go over there, little guy. They're out on our back patio and they're getting beautiful filtered light for most of the day, and they are just growing bananas, but they're also using water like crazy, the whole photosynthesis thing. And so for my plant sitter, one of my beautiful planty besties has offered to come over and plant sit for the holidays, and I could not be more grateful, because bless my plant sitter last year, please don't ever tell him, killed a number of my plants last year, even though I said this line, you know, if you're not used to plants, you think you're loving them more by filling them more. He was filling it to the 4th or 5th line and actually drowned a number of my plants, and I would never ever tell him that. I've spent a lot of time, I guess, really curating my collection in 2025, and there'll be some plants that I'd be absolutely devastated if I lost. My beautiful friend Chrissy has offered to come over, and I'm trying to make it as easy as possible, so she only has to come over twice a week. So I've tried to put the alocasias into bigger saucers, try and stretch that gap out. 3 days is about the most I'm getting, and so that's just adding larger, it's putting them in larger saucers so they've got a larger water reservoir without going over that second line. I put these in last week. As you can see, they seem to be happy, and thank goodness I am getting that 3 days out of the water reservoir. We're not leaving until late January, so I'll just keep monitoring it. But all of my alocasias and all of my extra thirsty plants, I've upsized the saucers. But I guess that's one of the beautiful things about the self-watering setup. I feel like it just gives me, I don't know, so much more control, I guess, over the watering. I'm so much less scared of over or under watering with the setup. So how did I end up with so many alocasias when at the start of 2025 I was just like, I can't do any more diva plants. I've got way too many plants already, and I just don't have space or time for alocasias. This is my stingray. It is this plant's fault that I've ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I've got 5 alocasias now. Oh, so firstly, the rocks. If you're wondering why the rocks, all of my alocasias are outside in our back area, and I'll talk about light later in the video. It just seems to be the place that they really love, where they're getting the light. They're on an antique ladder, which is on an angle, particularly because I've upsized the saucer so significantly. This one is like 2 or 3 saucers too big. So I've had to put rocks in the base to counterbalance it, because it really wants to topple over at the moment in the big saucer. So I may even put a 3rd rock in there, but there's not normally the saucer is much more closer in size to the pot. It normally has a nice black saucer underneath, and I don't need the rocks. But for now, while I'm going on holidays, rocks it is, because it's stopping the whole plant from toppling over. So this guy, for anyone who's watched my previous videos, I apologize, because I have told this story before. I don't think I've shown you this in my videos for a while though, just how much it's grown. You would not recognize this plant. It was in a tiny, I want to say like 6 or 7 centimeter pot. There was 1 leaf and it was shriveled. So it had been left out in the sun. It had been left at our local plant library, which at the time was out in the sun. There was no shade. I couldn't tell it was an alocasia because the leaf was so shriveled, but I could tell that it was a tropical plant, and if I left it there, it was not going to survive. I brought it home and I transitioned it into my DIY self-watering setup. I kept it in like a 7 or 8 centimeter pot, a little saucer. I put it in our back area, getting that filtered light. So if I get a plant that I don't know what it is, which I had no idea that this was a stingray. It wasn't until it started growing new leaves. I put it either behind you guys in this propagation room under the grow lights, same sort of light that's behind me, in a self-watering setup, unless it's an obvious succulent. If it's an obvious succulent type plant or a ZZ plant, or actually quite a few philodendrons don't appreciate my self-watering setup, chunky mix only. But if I don't know what it is, I'm putting it in my DIY self-watering setup. I'm being conservative with the water, so sometimes I won't even fill the water up to the second line. Sometimes I'll even just keep it a lot lower. I'll watch how much water it's using and I'll watch if it's growing, and pretty quickly you can tell if it's happy with that filtered light or if it needs a little bit more or a little bit less. And then I move it around accordingly. So this guy just went crazy. As you can see, it went from this one tiny little shrivel up leaf that I couldn't even tell what sort of plant it was to this. And I think I probably only got it. It wasn't, so May was our very first plant club catch up. I think it might have been July I got this. So consider July, and for us, that's winter. July, August, and September is spring. Since then, it has just gone so crazy. So it's this guy's fault that I now own 4 more alocasias. Long story short, between the self-watering and this guy going bananas, I went, you know what? Maybe I can do this. Maybe I can have alocasias. Then I bought online during one of there was a sale, I can't remember which one. I bought myself an Amazonica. I had researched that Amazonicas were fairly easy to care for an alocasia, and these are actually, let me just get it out. These are actually 3 corms that have sprouted since then. The parent plant is actually outside. I should have put it in for you guys. So I don't know if the camera's doing that any justice at all, but these are 3, and I've actually got a 4th baby that's sprouting outside that's in with the parent. So I'm feeling pretty chuffed with myself with that. And then what happened next? The Amazonica and I have been having arguments. It was in that 2-leaf club and staying in the 2-leaf club until Daisy, my very large 60-kilo dog, her tail knocked over the Amazonica. The potting mix went everywhere. I redistributed it through some of the pots, just scooped it all up, redistributed it, and these babies just started popping up in a number of my plants. And so the Amazonica and I are having less arguments now because it's still got its 2 leaves, but now it's got 4 babies as well, so it's looking a lot less sparse. And then I went to, did I bring you? No. And then I went to the Brisbane Plant Expo later in the year. I've always wanted a black velvet. Found a black velvet, it was $12, and I thought, you know what? My other 2 alocasias are going okay. I'll get that, and it's going fine. But then I spotted this in a friend's garden. My husband was tiling. I took the tiniest clipping. It was growing down their side garden, and it was like waist high, this plant. I took the tiniest little clipping because I didn't want to disturb their plant. But oh my goodness, it's a Regal Shield. I'm in love. I think this is probably my favorite alocasia at the moment. Look how much it's growing. I think when I took it out of the garden, it was probably the same size as this leaf, probably, just tiny. It looks so beautiful. I just took a tiny bit from the side of the plant. It has grown 2 other leaves. It looks like it's got another leaf coming up here. When I get back from Japan, I'll definitely repot this. I bought some alocasia specific pots, the taller ones from Amazon, I think, or AliExpress. They've been great. I'll get it some more, but keep it in the self-watering setup. So this is in Fluval Stratum, Perlite 50-50 mix, self-watering. Oh my goodness, Regal Shield, just beautiful. So I'm always rescuing plants from Plant Club. At the end of Plant Club, all the leftover plants go to the plant library. The plant library now has a bit of shade, but even still, really sensitive plants, it's not quite enough because at the end of the day, it's still outside. So I do rescue plants that I'm like, that's just not going to last out there. And so I think 2 plant clubs ago, so November, I grabbed this. Same thing, it was a very, very small cutting. Couldn't even tell what it was. And I think, but you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I'll put the name of the alocasia up here because I'm just having words, I'm having a complete blank. But I think I have myself another alocasia. Look at that. These have just popped up over the last week or so. Amazing. It's in my DIY self-watering setup, that Fluval Stratum Perlite 50-50% mix. So I had no idea what I was rescuing or picking up, but it looks like I've got myself even another alocasia, and thank goodness for the self-watering setup. It just gives me so much more confidence to give plants a go. Okay, let's talk about number 2, which is probably my very, very favorite topic when it comes to plants, and that's light. I thought my variegated peace lily would probably be a good plant to show you guys while I'm talking about lights, because finding the right light for this guy meant that it's just getting some extra beautiful, can you see that? Extra beautiful variegation on it. So when I first got this plant, it was way smaller. I got it for my birthday last year. It was more like this. I'm just having trouble putting my hand behind it for you guys. The variegations were a lot more subtle, I guess. It was actually the first variegated peace lily that I'd seen in a nursery in person. And the fan's blowing my hair on my face. And so I loved it because I hadn't seen a variegated peace lily before. Heaps on YouTube, just not in a nursery. And my mum bought it for me for my birthday. And so it's just a plant that I really cherish. And I understood water-wise because I have a non-variegated peace lily. So I understand that these guys love water and can be quite dramatic when you don't water them. So I felt like I had the water bit under control. And actually, that's what I wanted to show you guys while we're talking about self-watering. I love this. This is a material pot. I just love it. Supporting local Indigenous artists. This is probably one of the best pot covers I've ever had because it's actually waterproof on the inside. Can't speak more highly. It's the brand, just in case anyone was interested. Yarn. It's called Yarn. Absolutely not sponsored, of course. Way too small a channel. But yeah, I adore these. There's lots of different styles. So this plant always is covered in some way, even though it's in a self-watering setup. And so over Christmas, because I got busy, I don't know, can you guys see that? It does have some crispy leaves on it, not major, but I did let it dry out a bit. And I guess that just goes to show how important those clear sources are with the self-watering setup. But plants I feel more comfortable with, I do tend to put a cover over it once I get to know the plant. But what I wanted to say with light, so I can't remember if I tried 2 or 3 different spots for this plant, and certainly it really has been easy care because it didn't really matter where I put it, it was growing. But the spot that I've got it now, which you guys will get to see in the houseplant tour over the next few weeks, but it's actually sitting closer to the grow light than I would have expected for a peace lily, because my unvariegated peace lily, it's very forgiving with regards to light. It definitely gets grow light, but it doesn't need prime real estate. And I guess I should have guessed that because it's variegated, so it's got less chlorophyll, and variegated plants in general do need more light. But I would have expected the grow lights, how close it is to the grow lights, I actually would have expected the leaves to burn, but that's not the case at all. And some of the newer leaves are even sort of doing almost half moons for me. Just beautiful. So I guess that's a long way of saying light, I found, is just so key to my plants, to keeping them healthy. It's just been a game changer, taking the time to understand my plants and to understand their light requirements. Light, with the whole photosynthesis process, it really does determine how well a plant grows, and also therefore how much water it absorbs. Also, experimenting with grow lights. I can't wait. I've got a whole grow light video on my list of how-to videos to do for you guys this year, because my plant club ladies just keep asking me and I must do it. I'm really glad that I didn't buy grow lights first. Probably, how fast as time goes, I'm probably coming into at least 4 years of being a complete plant tragic. Not, once again, not an expert, but since I've realized that I'm not a complete plant killer and can keep plants alive, and slowly my plant collection has been expanding. I very quickly learned that even though we live in southeast Queensland and I considered our house quite light and bright and airy, when it came to plants, it really wasn't light enough. And so my husband joked for a very long time that I just spent my days running my plants outside and then running them back in the afternoon, because that back area that I talk about, the back patio, it has clear perspex on parts of it, and it just gets beautiful filtered light for most of the day. And we have a breakfast bar out there. So when my collection was much smaller, I would take turns with my plants, but about every second day, I would move plants out onto that breakfast bar so they would get enough light. And as my plant collection grew, I realized that that wasn't sustainable. I thought, I just can't take that many plants outside and inside every day. That was crazy. And so they were the plants that I found really needed that light, was where I started putting the grow lights in. And now I have, let me think, oh goodness, I think I've got about 7 or 8 sets or grow lights, or sets of grow lights through our house now. And the difference that has made, there is no more running plants in and out, and my plants seem so much happier. It saves me so much time. A lot of them are on timers. So these ones here are just bulbs that screw into the normal power points. I've just replaced the normal bulbs. I turn them on anywhere between 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, after I've had at least my second tea and I'm a bit more awake. I make sure they get at least 10 hours of light during the day, so switch them off at night time, usually when I'm starting to think about cooking dinner. Whereas the other ones, a lot of the other ones are on timers, so I don't even need to think about it. I sort of have my classifications of, okay, your prime real estate, like my Hoyas and any of my euphorbias, my fiddle leaf, even my begonias love a bit of solid light. So they're definitely my light hogs. But then I've got the next tier down, which begonias can go in that as well. My cane begonias, my Rex begonias do prefer a little bit more light. Oh, the highlight ones as well, all of my jungle cactus, they need lots and lots of light. And then it sort of goes down into my peace lilies and my pothos, and then right down the bottom, some of my syngoniums and my ZZs and my snake plants. Oh my goodness, they're so forgiving. And I've just learnt that over the last 12 months or so, as I've increased my grow lights and moved my plants around. And if a plant's not right, just looking for those signs on the leaves and adjusting it and just seeing if that makes a difference. That's just been massive for me this year, absolutely massive. So on that, I wanted to show you a plant that I'm experimenting with right now. So this is a really good example. This was a rescue from my planty friend who's actually plant sitting for me. It just wasn't behaving in her house. It's one of her very, very favorite plants. I was saying in last week's video, this is a plant that if she moved house, it's in her top 5 of it would need to come with her. I feel lots of pressure to get this right. It was a very big plant, so I actually split it into 3 different parts, and I'm experimenting right now with, can I try and get it healthy? I've clipped off the worst of the leaves. Look at it, it's just absolutely beautiful. Look at the color. I'm actually hoping, after the disaster with my pink princess, I feel as though this could actually be her replacement, because so far, touch wood, it's easier to look after than my pink princess, but time will tell. I've only had it for a few weeks. So talking about the self-watering plus the light, so I split it into 3. What have I done? I've got 2 that I've done this with. So I put it in the perlite, the 50-50 perlite stratum combo in the self-watering setup. And already, can you guys see? Yeah, thank goodness I let all of these saucers empty before I came. I don't know if you can see the roots already in there. And it's only been a few weeks that I've had this. So I'm really happy. It's in a much better state already. So I've got this one on the back patio underneath the perspex, because that is just my go-to place. If I've got an unknown plant, it's going there. Actually, on that, I'll make sure I put the name of this plant up for you guys. I haven't had this genus before, so this is a real learning curve for me. Okay, so this one's in our back patio. The second one, same self-watering setup. It's in our ensuite. It's underneath our Soltec grow lights, so that's getting extra humidity. My beautiful friend gave me her order when she first got this. She still had the order, and so I've got the species and genus name. ChatGPT did say that these are okay in southeast Queensland in ambient, but they do like humidity. So the second one is in the bathroom, same setup. The third one I've actually got in 100% water, just seeing if it is a plant that thrives in hydro, because sometimes I've found if a plant's having a bit of a moment, cutting it right back. So I've cut the leaves off even a bit more, and I've got it just in my hydro setup. I should have mentioned this when I was talking self-watering. So leaning into my self-watering setup, but also hydro. Oh my goodness. Hydro is one of my very, very favorite ways to grow plants. Someone's at the door, I'm going to get that. I wish all of my plants would grow in hydro, because I love the aesthetic. I've got so many different container options that I grow my hydro plants in. This is actually a cutting from one of my plant friends that I've had maybe for 6 weeks. This is an Adansonii. How beautiful is that? And look at this. It's only been 6 weeks, guys. Amazing. So hydro is just so forgiving, I find, with plants. A lot of my plants, unfortunately, I find I only get about 12 months, and then I do have to move them into a different substrate. And I haven't tried an Adansonii in water before, so that'll be interesting. And it'll also be interesting to watch the DIY self-watering or the hydro is the way that this plant prefers to grow for the next 12 months anyway. I'll make sure I keep you guys updated on both of these, actually, because that is a new cutting, and this is definitely a rescue. And what I'm hoping is, wouldn't it be nice if all 3 of these do well? She did say that I can keep the whole plant. I would never do that. So I'm hoping I'll be able to give 2 back out of the 3 in as big, healthy plants. And then number 3, I've pretty much covered when I talked about self-watering and when I talked about light. And that's just taking the time to understand my plants, watch for their signals, and just being okay with moving them around if and when they need it. I bought one of my syngoniums. I think this is a Syngonium confetti. This plant for me in 2025 was definitely the epitome of be okay with moving plants around until you find their happy place. And look at the color. I love this guy. This is one of my Syngonium confettis. I have a bucket load of Syngoniums, but this guy just hasn't always behaved. So I have tested this guy in multiple locations. I think we might be up to 5 or 6 locations in this house. And look, it's never died. It just hasn't always looked 100% happy, and the colors haven't always come out in it. So now it lives just behind you, underneath one of the grow lights, on top of the dryer. So it's getting humidity, but not the humidity if it would be in the bathroom. And that seems to be its happy place. So my beautiful friend, whose plant I'm trying to rehab, and who is coming to look after my plants when we go on holidays, she is the Syngonium queen. I'm going to ask her, guys, if we can do a plant tour of her house, because it is amazing. Not only is she the Syngonium queen, but she makes some beautiful, beautiful Lego. You know, all of the floral Lego that you can get. And between the Lego and the plants, her place is just the ultimate hygge. I have to say, ultimate calm. Her advice to me with Syngoniums was group them together. They seem to like growing together. So on top of the dryer, actually, I might put a photo up for you guys just so I don't move the camera around. This is now grouped with a number of other syngoniums. So I don't know if it's the grouping or just the extra humidity from the dryer, but this plant is so much happier than it has been in a very long time. And I am just delighted. But I guess that is just one example. I could give you so many examples of my plants. I think I've told you guys so many times, I'm definitely all about the aesthetics of plants, just that calmness and life that they can bring to your house. And so it's really important for me. I guess I love when my plants are thriving and my plants are happy. As I get more and more knowledge about my plants, that's what motivates me to find them their happy place, even if it's not the ultimate happy place. So this guy that I'm rehabbing for my wonderful planty friend, I made sure, knowing the species and the genus really helps, because it just gave me so many clues on how I can find its happy place. And then likewise with the syngonium, when this particular guy out of all my syngoniums wasn't happy, just doing a little bit of extra research and trying to look at where it lives in the wild, and then replicating that as best I can in my home. In our dining room, we've got this recycled timber looking buffet, and you guys will totally get to see that as well when I finally do my first plant tour. I have always imagined a beautiful ficus next to that buffet. It would just look amazing. It would be lovely to have dinner with. That is probably one of the very darkest spots in our house, and I would have to get a specific grow light, I guess, for that. And that particular PowerPoint is already maxed out with my other grow lights. It would just be a whole thing, I think. But that's a perfect example of, I would love a ficus in this particular location. I just think it would look lovely, but it just would not take very long for it not to be happy with me. And so I just would never do that. But I know that one day if I want to, it's going to require a grow light. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, like I said earlier in the video, I think I'm in my 4th year now of really focusing on being that crazy plant lady and building my collection and building my knowledge. All of these things have taken time. They're not things that I learned straight away. I still have so much to learn. I think all of us, it doesn't matter how many years you've been doing the plant thing, we've all got stuff to learn. Plants can teach you so much. If and when I'm doing this video in, goodness, that'll be 2027. That's not a nice thing to think about. I'm sure I'll have even more learnings to tell you guys. Don't be scared to experiment with your plants, and all of our plants and collections and homes are just so completely different. This video was just all about, here's how it works for me. Go out and have a play with your own plants and just see if that might work for you. But just know that there's no one right way. There's just so many knowledgeable people out there and so many cool ideas. Don't feel like you're stuck in a box on how to look after plants at all. So that's it, guys, for the 3 planty hacks, tips that I found in 2025 that have just made a massive difference to my plant care routine. If you've made it this far through the video, thank you so much for spending time with me today. I really appreciate it. I've kept it a little bit more casual and less edited than I normally do. I'm told that as someone with autism and ADHD, communication is absolutely not my strong point. So I'll be really interested to see how you react to this video, a little less edited, a little bit more Mel, if I dare say. We'll see how it goes. I hope you're having a wonderful week, whatever you're doing. So until my next video, guys, take care, and remember, you've totally got this.